Hello, it's Brian from Electric Power Sports here, and today we're talking about the review of the Trailmaster Mini XRX R Plus Plus. My guess is maybe that's SEO. I don't think there's supposed to be two pluses. XR Plus. So this is a kid's go kart. It's on for smaller children, and it is gas powered. So why on Electric Power Sports are we dealing with gas powered go kart? There just wasn't a better option. I mean, I made the spreadsheet. I always make the spreadsheet. I made the spreadsheet. There it is with all the results, what we're looking at, all the options, the pricing, the whole deal. And for an off-road go-kart, for what we needed, there just was not a good electric option. I'll do a different video specifically on just the spreadsheet and the analysis and how we ended up with this one. But end of the day, I'm just not a zealot. I'm not an electric fanatic. I like electric, less maintenance, lower cost of ownership, easy to use, simple, all that kind of stuff. Don't have to worry about chokes and all that. It just wasn't available, so I got to go with the gas power. So while we're talking about this, I will let this first video here play, just so you can kind of see the go-kart in action, just an open field. That's my 3-year-old son driving that around, having some fun. And so we'll see here. Let me see the volume. Yeah, it's up enough. Not too loud, right? I mean, you hear that? I would be fine with that in the neighborhood. I don't have a flat yard for this, but I don't think anybody in our neighborhood would care. You might have also noticed my son giggling. He just loves this thing. Has a ton of fun on it. For 20 minutes, he'll be in that little thing giggling and just laughing and just having a good time. So from that perspective, I know he enjoys it, and I imagine your kids will as well. So let's go through the pros and cons of this after 18, 20 months or so since we've had it. Number one, minimal maintenance. I mean, there's maintenance. It's gas powered. You gotta make sure you keep the fuel, stabilized. You gotta make sure you change the oil and the fuel filters and all that kind of stuff. All things I prefer not to deal with anymore because I'm busy. But overall, it's just not that bad. So I'll go to another video here as I'm going through these items. Solid rear axle. So I wanted something two-wheel drive just because if we're off-road and things like this, it's not going to get stuck. It has never gotten stuck. It's never had issues. So I think that's important. Full suspension. So it does have 4 different, essentially, coilover shocks. Not that great. I'll show you that in a separate video. But it's full suspension. Great off-road tires. So those are pneumatic, low-pressure tires. And you'll notice here, he starts to realize that it is more fun to run over cones than to go around them. And there you go. And that is a lesson that we learn. I put it on here, get cones because they're fun. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you running over the cones? But quickly I learned that it's just because he's having fun. So the rest of the time I'm just running around picking up cones. Yay, Dad. Reasonable price compared to a dirt bike, compared to a quad, reasonable price compared to a go-kart. This is one of the more expensive ones, coming in a little over $1,400 with all shipping and everything. So hand signals are also good when you're training your young child how to use one of these things. Adjustable seat and pedals, so seat moves forward and back, the pedals move forward and back, so a lot of range. I thought that was important because I have a 3-year-old and I have a 2-year-old, well, I actually have a 4-year-old. He's not 4. A 2-year-old and an 8-month-old, and I want this thing to last for the family for quite a while, and they're all growing in different sizes, so adjustability was important. 5-point racing harnesses for 2 people. So that is useful. Keep them safe. If they roll over, they're going to stay in place, stay in position. You'll notice here as he gets too distracted trying to hit these cones, the next thing becomes real important. So it's the remote kill switch. So this is great. It's a key fob. It is wireless. We have 2 of them, so one person each side of the field has one. And like right there, there's no traffic coming on this road. But having that kill switch and be able to turn it off at a different point is really important. I would not buy a go-kart for a child without that. And there's 2 of them. So like I said, we have one person either side of the field. Keep going through videos here. That has one that can control it, can kill it for whatever reason. Just need to talk to him, whatever. Remote electric start. Yeah, it's nice. Same key fob has a button to start it. Isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, it starts up pretty easy when you got it dialed in, the pull start, but the electric is kind of cool. Speed limiter on the pedal and also on the cam for the throttle body, on right by the carburetor. So 2 different areas. As you're watching this, this is about half the capabilities. It would do about 7 miles an hour based on me running alongside of it with my GPS watch. That's how I know. And It'll do total of 12, 13 miles an hour, maybe. I mean, that's what's claimed. We haven't verified that because he's not ready for that. But just so you know, it can grow with him, both in size and both in performance. So the cons. This is the biggest one that rolls relatively easily on this field right here, making a turn similar to this one he's making right now. Um, something like kind of there. That if you just get too aggressive and turn that thing too fast, it just goes over on its side. So it's really important. I really wouldn't stress this to if you have a child driving one of these things. Um, teach them to hold onto that steering wheel. If it goes over and they hold on the steering wheel, they'll be fine. No problems. Hold onto that steering wheel. Or you can take it to the point of that thing's pretty light. Just go over there and like, tip it over and just get them used to like, okay, if it's falling over, just hold on. You can teach them a little bit of counter steering. But that would be the biggest thing I'd say. There was a con that it's just not super stable that way. Suspension barely moves. If I jump up and down on that thing, it moves like an inch. So I can show you here in a quick video. A different video here on the GoPro. I'm actually on it. A lot of bouncing, right? Like the GoPro after a few seconds just kind of goes down because I don't have it secured on there tight enough. But it's just a lot of bouncing. It's not great suspension, and I'm not like in any crazy terrain. I mean, it's just grass. So very sensitive to temperature. So what do I mean by that? That's running thing. So I'll show you a picture here real quick. That's a different point. Let's see if I can find the picture. There we go. So this little screw right here is a air-fuel ratio mix. Now, if you do some searches on YouTube, other places called it an idle air control. It's not idle air control. It's air-fuel ratio, and that will need to be adjusted. If you're doing 65 degrees Fahrenheit temperature or 85 degree, you can't use the same setting. So not a big deal. I mean, it's like quarter turn, half turn, whatnot. But if you're having trouble getting it started, that was the #1 thing that we found helped. Obviously, got to have the choke out all the time. So leave that choke out when you're starting and let it get warmed up. But once you get that dialed in, and if you get it started and it's rough, you can even dial it in while it's running. The rest of the day will be fine. Just got to get it dialed in. Local dealer wouldn't negotiate. You might not care about that, but they just wanted like $500 more than online. So Family Go Karts was great to deal with, very helpful. Pedals are hard to move. That was probably the hardest thing in assembly. I mean, looking at this thing, it comes without the roll cage on there, the steering wheel, the seats kind of were all folded down. Wheels, tires, brakes, all that stuff was in place. So it's pretty easy from that perspective. But the pedals, actually getting those set up was probably the hardest thing. Freight delivery resulted in some scratches. So that was the pictures I was just showing you. I'm just going to pull that up. Yeah, it's just on the frame there, a few little blemishes. It doesn't affect anything. I even contacted Family Go Karts, like, hey, there's scratches here. They offered to send me some touch-up paint. I kind of dropped it. It was like, no big deal. But they were very helpful. So that was the only reason I didn't get it is because I didn't pursue it. So lessons learned now after 20-ish months. I think we're at 19 months. Need cones. Get those cones. They're a lot of fun, especially if you don't have like a trail, just out in the field. We set more of those up, and he just guns those things down. That is like his favorite part of that. Prior to the cones, he would drive the thing for like 10 minutes. After the cones, half an hour. Like he just didn't want to stop. Separate foot for braking. So his only experience prior to driving this would be driving Power Wheels. Well, Power Wheels are 100% on, 100% off, right? There's either full power or no power and no separate brake. And so taking the time to say, okay, there's throttle modulation, a little bit of throttle, more throttle, full throttle, and there's a separate brake. How do you do that? We just had him going in straight lines. Straight, stop, work on hand signals. This means stop. Make sure he's paying attention and focused. And I actually found that for a 3-year-old, this activity, like he kind of realized that it was intense and would really focus. So that was I think a great learning experience for him, just the responsibility and that this is something serious, so on. But take the time, don't rush into it. Just get somewhere nice and flat and just do the starting and stopping and getting used to the 2 separate foot controls. Keep hands inside. I already mentioned that during rolling, counter steering of the roll. If you can do that, that air control, like now that I know that, it's a lot easier. But for a while, we were kind of playing with that, trying to figure out we couldn't get it to idle, or he'd step on the throttle and it would shut off, that sort of thing. Has reverse, haven't used it yet. Maybe when he's bigger and he's kind of got more independence on it, that'll change. And of course, as I mentioned, definitely would not buy one of these things without the remote kill switch. So hope that was useful. Please subscribe if you like this. We're going to go through a few more videos and also look at some more electric options. So hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for your time. Take care.